my god, okay, we're live. I got kind of scared there. It's like, oh, I thought my face was on.
the water blood atom the hagi when bakuno glan needement lose by really deep to the say was but it glan Ganitsna you would subscribe would name and tested we nine would see get would name and do them the MP Tun was Jesus Christ Emmanuel. Amen.
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 Okay, Gitxsan agenda. Administration review January 21st, reviewed December 12th. Committee updates, fundraising committee. Last meeting December 16th. Postponed to a later date. Jurisdiction standing committee. Crisis management team. Gitxsan government structure. And other. Any burning issues on the table?
I just wanted to ask for a letter of support from the table for a language project that I'm doing a proposal for at the end of the month. Well, it's due at the end of the month, so I'm just wondering if that somebody could provide that letter of support for me.
All chiefs letters of support or just?
I guess just the chair could sign it on behalf of this table. We could just show a motion for it and then it'll be easier to get one signature. Yeah, but I think it'll be stronger to show that I get support for it rather than a band or a community.
I know I need it.
No changes. Is that on number 5, other?
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, thanks very much for a little time to make a suggestion that we get a general outline of the movement of the Gitxsan and the laws behind it. But I see you got something started here already, so let's put it on hold for a while, see what I never read the whole outline here. Because that's what we need. Look what's happening in Morristown. I think we need to get together and see how we can. It's our jurisdiction, and that's what they're fighting. And the only other thing I see is when we've been getting letters from the government of British Columbia Forestry, and they're just telling us what the hell they're going to do. They're not asking any questions. And that's not consultation. They're just telling you, and you're supposed to accept it. They're not asking you if it's all right to do it on your territory.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the Constitution before the white man come, and they call us savages, and I don't like that. I like to ram it down their throat. And that's why I think if we get a good outline and principles.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We got 2 additions to language letter of support and a without support. How do we go around in supporting them, I guess? Any more burning issues on the table? If not, somebody adopt with the 2 additions, Ray?
Move we adopt the agenda with the additions.
Okay, move that we adopt the agenda with the additions made by Ray, seconded by Calvin. All of those in favor of the agenda? Abstentions? Administration reviewed January 21st Gates government agenda 2020.
Should it be 22nd?
22nd. Oh, that's done. That's done. It's supposed to be 22nd.
You're just reviewing it? Yeah, that's right.
What's the date?
22nd.
22nd,
Oh,
yeah.
it's supposed to be 26.
So we've done that. We've done that. Eh?
Yeah.
Just approved.
Okay, review December 12th, Gyeets government meeting notes. It's on the next page.
Vernon, in the minutes, Calvin was absent.
See, $40 dollar store. I'm
Right.
sucking them trading. Okay, is there any corrections, deletions? There are one is Calvin was absent last meeting. I'm neither absent nor present. It's not recorded. Yeah.
You was at,
So you're going to be added to the absent list.
Yeah.
he came in for a bit
Missing
Right.
in action.
before he
He
left.
was
And
going.
then I went on the medical.
Yeah, he came in and he was part of us for a bit.
How long were you here? Oh, I don't even remember.
I think about an hour. I
But
think.
stood up, yeah.
Then he said he had to leave for a medical trip to Prince George.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we'll put it back on the tables. Okay,
At least I remember that.
yeah. I was just telling Elaine, I should keep a record of where I go. I don't even remember where I went. Dollar store don't sell that.
Could see right through you.
Now you know bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, any,
Can't see if I'm buying stuff. I got this
If there's anything else, we need to move that we accept the Gitxsan Government Gates December 12th, 2019 meeting notes.
Okay. You could move it if you were here.
Oh, but you were, Ayok, let's do this. Nee, Peter gedaan.
Is everybody done reading it?
Next question not named is Billy Blackburn about the meeting with Dr. Hanson.
Nee,
Nee. I see it's on her list.
I guess that's business arising from the need. Can you read it? I'm trying not to go on the name. Somebody else move it. Robin, move the name.
Second or first?
Sent it.
Go.
Sent it minutes.
Oh, sent
Sent
it.
it,
Okay. Robin moved that we accept the minutes of December 12th, 2019. We need the seconder. Roddy, seconded. All in favor? Passed. Any business arising from the minutes of December 12th? There was a question from Roddy about Blackwater's report. If he went to see Doc Donaldson to make a presentation.
Doug's presentation.
Huh?
Doug Donaldson's presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he presented it to the watershed. Doug Donaldson did.
Oh, yeah.
He presented it to the Kispiock stable.
Okay.
And Bill wanted to share it.
Yeah, there was a motion that he was delivering a letter to Doug Donaldson
Oh,
On the 13th.
on our minutes.
He did, yeah, he did.
It's on A2. Motion to appoint Bill Blackwater Jr. to deliver a letter to Minister Doc Donaldson regarding the implementation process of UNDRIP with respect to the Gitxsan. Moved by Ray, seconded by Crystal. So that's done. I think I was in that meeting when we made it presentation. Come to think of it, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's been done, Roddy.
Okay.
There's no other issues, no other business arising from the minutes. Then we'll move on. Is it safe to move on? Okay. Fundraising committee report. Anita, Crystal, myself. I didn't phone in on 12th when we were supposed to.
We haven't had a meeting since November 27th. No, we didn't get together on the 12th. I can't remember why, but
The reason why we were gonna get together by telephone, it was just gonna be a quick teleconference, was to confirm that we received the letter of support from this table. So we didn't. We decided not to have that teleconference, and then we were supposed to have a meeting earlier in the week, but we haven't managed to reschedule it because it will be a teleconference with Kathy Blackstock as well. So we haven't nailed down the date for that just yet, so we don't have an update yet.
Okay, we just need to set a date for to follow up. Linda.
so one of us was supposed to meet with a David someone from Smithers. Scarrett, yes. And through, was it an organization from GGC? So when, Flimro, yes, yeah. So we're trying to figure out a date for that.
But it may not be necessary. Because of what I was telling you earlier.
On med de teknik der kan, am die til dachte den kwasti blommes.
Den plastic, no, en ganda pula oxhart.
Sa bacht, bille.
Nagpumatang akpak.
Della oit jönes,
Ayuk to see. Sa takal.
de brug is, della oit de brug is. Sa waterstudies. Skimmen dem zijn lijkt van elk, met dem zijn pushes. Van raisins. En borrels.
I think we trying to fundraise to start it. We need some money in the bank. We're just gonna implement the Quebec bioenergy. And we need to fundraise to start it off. But the plans are all in place from what I understand. It's just a matter of pulling dollars in.
Yeah, Kelsey's working diligently on proposals, and she's working hard at getting meetings set up, and yeah, that's all we need for now. But there's proposals that have gone out. Yeah, it's a matter of when we get answers, we'll report.
Okay.
Als die de mensen niet twisten, dan recorden.
They'll probably try and they've got the money. They'll probably ask for percentage, or like 50% if they've got lots of money. They could ask to control it. That's the danger. But we want Gitxsan to control it.
Yeah, we just want money outright, not to borrow. If we're gonna borrow from the bank. That way we don't have a hold on our shares.
Okay, any more questions on the fundraising committee?
Is there any other more strategies that you guys found out about? I mean, did any more research on how to get more funding? Or is there just the same basics that we're talking about?
Yeah, just the same basics for now.
Just curious because I might have some ideas, but I will say it later on.
You should say it. You
Yeah,
could say
well,
it.
It's kind of foggy right now, so I know I got a couple ideas.
We could borrow from you, right?
Nope.
No.
I just kidding.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So one thing came up at the last meeting was the money coming in from Lotto, BC Lotto, because they want to support green energy. So I think Kelsey's looking into that. There's a lot of foundations. I think we need to look at who's his name too. That
Jim Pattison or
Who?
something. Pattison? Or who was it?
no, not Patterson. No, that guy that promotes green, Oriental guy.
Suzuki, yeah?
Suzuki Foundation. Yeah, need to look into that.
David Suzuki.
But we have some ideas. It just takes time. It's got to be show them the work plan, show them the feasibility study, and all that stuff before they issue any money. Okay, we'll go on to jurisdiction. Lawrence.
Well, as you can see on the agenda, that our last meeting was scheduled for the 14th of January, but it's been postponed till the 27th, which is next week. We've only just received an outline. I think everybody's got a copy of it. I haven't gone over it in detail, but I'll review it before the next jurisdiction standing committee meeting, and hopefully we'll have a little more information on where we're going and what's happening and how our letter writing campaign is going. So that's about all we have because of the postponed meetings.
It's part of the jurisdiction is the media that went out that we supported the Gitxsan because the Canadians, the band councils supported LNG extension, but the hereditary chiefs didn't. So there was a mix-up, and the guy that they interviewed last couple of days ago, I think it was Watson, I think his last name. Anybody saw that interview? Maybe Gordy could. The one I was talking about is on B1 that we supported with Gitxsan about jurisdiction, CN support for Gitxsan will government fisheries jurisdiction and add. I'll give you guys a chance to read that, to talk
C1,
more about
C1
jurisdiction.
and then C1.
B1.
B1.
C1.
B.
C. It's C.
Yours is on C?
Media release. The media
This one,
release.
No,
Oh, what are we talking about?
Jurisdiction.
Oh,
Maybe you could read it.
B1 or C1?
B1, jurisdiction.
B1?
Memo.
It's a memo.
I thought we were talking about the Wet'suwet'en support.
Yeah, that's,
Jurisdiction.
that,
Oh, okay, sorry.
we support it.
So B1 then, the memo is.
No, I gave the wrong one to.
No, what?
No, but, no.
Sorry.
I was just gonna start.
What do you got? You got last night's?
C1.
C1 is the.
C1 is the media release?
Yeah. Chairperson, sorry you guys, the chairperson was talking about the media release.
Yeah, that's B2. Where is it?
We're all confused here.
C1.
B1?
No, C.
C1 is the media release. Oh yeah, media release, C1.
Okay. Sorry, I should have just stayed down.
Okay, you stay up.
As soon as I try to help, this one. C1. Yeah, sorry.
You stay up and read.
Okay, C1, that's the one. That's Gitxsan concerned about policing over indigenous issues and stand with Wet'suwet'en neighbors to urge BC government to withdraw police enforcement and resolve peacefully. And that's what, I think that's what Vernon tried to put on the agenda too, is how do we support Wet'suwet'en Nation? Ask Rita to read that.
So January 16th, the media release went out from us, the Gitxsan Territories, Hazelton, BC, as the Wet'suwet'en Nation prepares to defend its rightful jurisdiction against the Coastal GasLink pipeline project, an invasion made by the RCMP. The Gitxsan hereditary chiefs, as they have done since the historic case at Delamok Gixtewe, extends its full support to its neighbor nation. The Gitxsan hereditary chiefs will be keeping a close watch on the activity of the RCMP to ensure they are resolving these land issues peacefully and collaboratively. Since 2018, the Gitxsan hereditary chiefs have been hard at work organizing and rebuilding their nation to address many of the issues and present themselves today as such as jurisdiction, industry impacts on the environment, self-governance, and policing, to name a few. In light of the work being done, the Gitxsan are concerned over using policing and military resources that are being used during their neighbors' blockade against the Coastal GasLink pipeline. To use police or military resources over indigenous land issues, such as the one with the Wet'suwet'en Nation, who are our neighbors, who are currently protesting peacefully, is a waste of taxpayer dollars. We are concerned that this will impact any peaceful work that has been done to date in our own community, and will make this tough for any indigenous communities to see any real benefit of the recent UNDRIP announcement. This is an issue of uncertainty with respect to land issues, and it needs to be resolved respectfully and peacefully with the hereditary chiefs. Policing is a community matter, and the RCMP cannot take sides in these circumstances of coexisting jurisdictions, says Samagat Sakamiro, Vernon Smith. The Gitxsan hereditary chiefs have begun what promises to be a constructive process with the provincial and federal governments to ensure sport fishing permit holders are not breaking the Gitxsan ayok by trespassing on their jurisdiction without permission and playing with fish. Catch and release is considered playing with the fish and is breaking traditional Gitxsan law. The Gitxsan government requests that government stop using taxpayers' dollars on police enforcement to address indigenous land issues. Another page. These issues are no place for police involvement. It is for industry and government to come to an agreement with the hereditary chiefs, says Samagat Twiye, Brian Williams. RCMP actions to set up checkpoints is contrary to Bill 41, which provides that indigenous lands will be demilitarized, says Samagat Nala Mothman Norman Moore. The Skeena River watershed includes the Bulkley and Maurice Rivers, which are under the jurisdiction of the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs. The current NDP government, led by Premier John Horgan, has not followed through with this. Is a direct result of the unfinished consultation process that is required by the Environmental Assessment Acts. Horgan and his government claim that existing provincial and federal law allows the pipeline development to continue its ambiguous, which is forcing First Nations communities to address projects like this with blockades and peaceful protests, leaving First Nations with even more uncertainty since the commitment to UNDRIP was announced. We feel that this NDP government has not met its burden and to ensure the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs' consent to this development, nor has it met its commitment to ensure this proposed pipeline project benefits the individual interests of all Wet'suwet'en people. We should stop asking our courts to solve problems that cannot be solved in the colonial courts, says Samagikwiye. It is unfortunate that Premier Horgan is undermining the work done by his cabinet minister, the Honorable Doug Donaldson. The Gitxsan government urges the federal and provincial governments to recognize that Indigenous land claims should not be met with police or military enforcement and are advising to stand by their promise to Indigenous nations for truth, reconciliation, and that includes proper consultation with hereditary chiefs. Abi.
Any questions about our stand?
Just a follow-up comment on this media release. Horgan sent one of his ministers up to the Wet'suwet'en blockade, or to talk to some of the hereditary chiefs. Just, I think it was today, they had meetings. Horgan also did a mini cabinet shuffle today, and the member that he has appointed for Indigenous relations still remains the same member, so he hasn't moved him out of his seat. So I think there was only three positions moved in his cabinet shuffle this afternoon or this morning. So just a little update on what's going on with the provincial government. So that's all I have.
Any more discussions on the problem that's at hand? It is a problem.
Yeah, there's a group organized in Kitwanga. They had a meeting today that they want to get a big group together to go to the stand with the Wet'suwet'en one day, at least one day, to show support. Everybody's busy and working, and not possible to have everyone, but at least the ones that are going to show support. I didn't go to the meeting, but
I was at that meeting today, and they're talking about support meeting, firewood, fundraising to get food out there. Well, the list goes on about support. Everybody knows we should be helping them to support them, especially firewood, because it's cold out there. And they were talking about, Lance was saying there was 2 logging trucks of firewood there, and they need more trucks to haul them out there, and talking about as they go out there, they're just saying they're going to support, not cause any trouble. They're supporting them, so I found that really good. Like, nobody wants to cause any more war or anything, but we're supporting them. That's what I got out of it.
So the firewood, you said there was 2 logging trucks?
I think there's 2 logging trucks in front of the chief's office.
Oh, yeah.
So I need some help to bring those out there. And
yeah, I know there's been a challenge getting people to come and cut that wood.
So if anybody can support from this table to bring more firewood out, I already said I'm going to, so I'll use my sister's truck. to go out there. I got a little map of how to get out there. So I'm going out.
So did they pick a date when to go show
I
the
think they
support,
said
or are they
2
all
days.
going? Huh?
I think they're giving everybody 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah, they really need help, so. Upon raising, I think the final answer will be 2 days from now, so I'll be
Oh,
keeping
they haven't
everybody.
picked a date yet.
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
It's hard.
On the news, they blockaded any support food
Well,
or anything
yeah.
going out to their camp.
That's right.
The RCMP blocked that. And to me, it's really bringing a disgrace to the RCMP as a whole in Canada, because they're supposed to follow the laws of the nation. And we are all Canadians, but Ottawa's been in the wrong by not recognizing the First Nations as Canadians. We're not recognized Canadian. And that hasn't changed yet, I don't think. It's been very, that's why we get very harsh treatment. Because of what they're doing. The Frenchmen called us savages. But we always had a constitution, so I say we should put a rough outline of one, not spell it all out, and show them that we always had it for thousands of years, and we had it before the white man come, and they stepped on it. And this is something that we should throw at them, because, well, I was still in the band council before I become elder and become old man. I used to argue with them about it. I said, we always had the Constitution before the white man come. And this is what more or less they want to see in writing, so maybe the thing was it was maybe give them an outline. Because it's the House group that controls the territory. And they got to understand that. That's what I think about it anyway, I don't know.
Really? Gilbert would be one to go there. Side ones were chosen from the Premier and his cabinet, a lot of his cabinet when last May, I think. And they spent the whole day together. And recently, the chiefs out there, they want to meet with the Premier again. And the Premier has traveled in the Northeast, mostly in central BC. His schedule is already set, but they allowed time for the Premier and Namox to talk on the phone. So the Premier is waiting on the phone, and Namox doesn't want to talk to him. So what the hell's going on there? You know, that, to me, that jeopardizes our face in terms of our struggles. You know, we take 2 or 3 steps forward in something like that. You know, it's a good thing it's not splashed across the world. The Namox ignoring the chief on the telephone line. You know, we're taught to respect whoever it is that we're dealing with. And the other thing I'm worried about again is there are people that fell trees across the roadway there. And there's some of the, a whole bunch of those trees are only half cut. you know, somebody can get hurt. And RCMP uncovered a stash of gasoline, tires, oil, rags soaked in oil. They were covered up. So it goes back again. The most upon organization and health organization har controllet et nationalt support it. Well, the Mongolian the rainforest disputes in central BC on the coast there. The Sierra Club, it's well known for decades. It's a strong legal for the rights of the environment club, etc. And there was another group, and they were pouring money in through these groups were pouring money into the native leadership that were in the coastal dispute. But a year or so later, the truth comes out. That money came all the way from Texas, the big oil companies in Texas. And they were pumping money into the Sierra Club for these guys to fight against the oil tankers and the pipelines, oil pipelines. And the real reason for that is these people in Texas, the oil companies in Texas, they don't want the Canadian companies to have terminals on BC because the competition will be too great for them. So I go back to, look who is supporting the Wet'suwet'en that are non-native, the organizations. Who's the real supporters there? Some are just jumping on the bandwagon too. So don't let them, I'll haunt them sometime. I guess with that information, Ray just said this. I hear that guy that was interviewed said that RCMP turns non-First Nations away because maybe it's because what the RCMP found. They started turning the non-First Nations away from the area that's occupied by the Wet'suwet'en. So the non-First Nations aren't allowed on there now.
It's the same thing went on yesterday on a smaller scale. You watch the news, that protest when that Chinese woman, the head of the big telephone company in China, one of the heads, it was her day in court yesterday. So there was a whole slew of protesters with their signs up supporting her. And finally, a reporter got one of them to actually tell the truth, that they didn't know where the money come from, but they were paid $100 or more each to stand there with the signs.
Oh, they were students. They look like students, young people.
I think part of the understanding they got out of that was they advertised and recruited. The one guy didn't get paid, so he said, "Where's my $100?"
So anyway, that's the kind of thing we have to be careful with.
On the topic of the Wet'suwet'en, One thing that I see in the media all the time is they're calling the hereditary chiefs that are saying no trespass on the territories. They keep calling them protesters. These hereditary chiefs are not protesters. We have to make it clear to the media that they're not protesting against the pipeline. They're protecting their land. What really needs to be done is to have the media understand that they're not protesting the pipeline. They just don't want it to go across their territories. Just like we don't want sport fishermen on our elk, on our territories. We're not protesters. By any means, we're not protesters. We're protectors. There's a difference, and the media has to understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I noticed on the media too that the Wet'suwet'en are called protesters. Like, but it's like us with that's our jurisdiction. And the land where Wet'suwet'en's on, that's their jurisdiction. And it's never been turned over to the province or the feds. So that's why we're supporting them, is that that's their jurisdiction. And our Lachip is our jurisdiction. And I fully support Wet'suwet'en because Ray was with me, and so I forgot who the third person is, when we went up to Fort St. John and we saw the damages of the oil fields. A lot of things.
Beatrice.
Yeah, Beatrice Rose. 3 of us went up there to take a look, and we saw a lot of damages that was done by the oil industry.
That's before fracking, you see.
Yeah. You know, where they pump the oil out, it goes, and they have a little plastic fence around it, and it falls over. And you see dead animals underneath it because the pipe wasn't long enough for the air to take away the fumes. It falls to the ground, and it kills these little animals around it. We also saw the little ponds beside where they're drilling. And the animals, they drink that salt from the earth. They're supposed to, from what we were told, they're supposed to pump it back into the earth after they take it out, and they didn't do that. So we asked the question, say, whose responsibility is that? Who's monitoring it? They said the province is supposed to monitor it, and they're not monitoring it. As long as they get all kinds of money into the provincial kitty. So they're not doing their job. So that's how I support Wet'suwet'en, is for them to make sure that it's going to be safe as possible if the oil does go through. They'll force their way through, but we need to get the province to be accountable if there's damage on our land. So there's a lot of work in front of us. But I thank the treaty back then that I got a chance to take a look at the damages the oil field did up in Fort St. John. Is that it for jurisdiction?
Yes.
Wait. Crisis management team. Robin.
I'll make it short and sweet.
Are you stressed out?
Not today, a little bit sick. Well, we've been having meetings with Troy Larden. He's department head, Fish and Wildlife. And he's been pretty consistent. Seems to me that he's really listening. He's been there, like he's continually been there. His ears are open. It seems to me that he's hanging in there, not like the other government representatives before him, since I've been on this crisis management team. I believe this is one step forward into the right direction. We are moving forward, but trying to work with the DFO is a different story, because they keep changing their positions all the time, and it's tough. Once we start getting, I don't know, it seems like a good friend, and all of a sudden they befriend you, and they want to just take off in their position after. And I think that's the government's idea of is setting us up for failure, I guess you can say that. I know we need to have one representative with the DFO, and we need to work our problems out with them. And they need to hear us. They really need to hear us, because this is why we have the crisis management team. We've been talking to Troy Larden about jurisdiction and that, and you guys already touched up about it already, about jurisdiction. And our yoke, we play with fish, we don't waste fish. You know, we've always owned our own, and that's taken care of it thousands of years. We know our own way of life before the government had their own structure. We know what we're doing, and we don't need all these high technologies, wasting money, this and that, fish count, because we're living off the land, and we know our own fish count. When there's hardly any fish, what do? Pull your net, wait. There's more to it, to what we've been doing. I know Brian Williams is not here, and he's got a lot to say, and Brian and Mr. Moore, and I guess I'll let Vernon touch up on the rest of what we've been doing. Like I said, there's more to say, but we've been talking about Monty Stevens and Kispiak's band came to the table at one of our meetings and talking about managing and the permits and licenses in Kispiak's River. And what I said to him was, aren't you kind of going against what we're trying to do here? I can see that he's trying to provide for his family and everything. That's the reason why that he's doing that. But it seems to me it's a step in the right direction for us to. It's kind of like a good guideline for us how to sustain ourselves, I guess you could say. That's about it, I guess.
Melanie Anthony's DFO. She was on the phone, and she didn't say much. She was just listening, and we asked about. They say an update on about the spill near Kirunga. What they told us is that it's clean. The pellets are clean, and it's not going to affect rivers. And that's basically it. Is that it's mostly pellet spill, and we asked a few questions and make sure that what she's saying is that we be satisfied with the information. But you know, when a spokesperson like Melanie, they minimize, and that's what we have to really watch the province and the feds. When a disaster like that happens, they usually minimize on the information. So, and Monty Stevens, he looks after mainly the mouth of Kispak's River, and he said $100 a day for anchoas that come to fish there, and $50 and $25 for the locals, and none for the First Nations. And I told him that the local non-natives should be paying $100 too, because the reason why I said that is that when I first hung around Kispak's, I took the elders they wanted to go fishing. So this is where I sat. I pulled off with my truck and we walked across the field. And the guy came out, run out with his gun, stopped us. You guys can't cross my land. And I told him we're just going to go down there and fish out of this person's traditional fishing hole. But he said this land is private. You can't go across. So that's why I told Monty, whether they're local anchoas or not, charge them $100. See how it feels. I said, we can't even cross their land that they built their farm on to go to our traditional fishing hole. That's why I told Monty to charge them $100 across the board. And Troy Larden, he didn't have too much to say, and I think Cian. We told him that if there's going to be any more fishing for land that's for sale, they need to come to us and discuss it before they do any more final sales, because of the access to our net is critical to our livelihood. Fish is one of our main sustenance. But we issued a statement that anglers and recreation fishermen, there will be none for 2020 this year. And we reiterated to Troy that the provincial fishing license doesn't give them a right to trespass on our inlet. That's all I could remember. Is it any questions for crisis management team?
I wanted to ask you, Vern,
Robin.
when you said that they chased you guys off the territory that you guys were walking to that fishing hole, did you know a lot of those farmers in the Kispak's Valley never bought the land, that they just squatted on that territory? And I don't know how many years they have to squat on that land before they're eligible to say it's theirs. You know, and it still belongs to the First Nations. It doesn't belong to the squatters.
That's something that we should look into, eh?
We know about I'm sure is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And but we're trying to draw a line where they can't do that anymore until they come to us.
Yeah, they're always doing that, pulling a gun out and pointing at you loaded. In early items years ago, you were going up on Samai there, and the guy living there, and there's a trail right through the yard. And we were going up there behind Carnaby. Said, no, you can't go across my yard here. I pay tax on it. Said, what the hell do you mean it can't go across it? There's Gitxsan land you're standing on. You're the one that's trespassing. He loaded up his gun and said, I'll shoot you before you go across. You can bury me to right here. I tell him, and that was it. Ernie says, how they got us some actions. We're going to go up there and take the berries up there.
That's the same thing with mushroom picking too, exactly the same. Going right across their land. These two young guys got shot at, literally got shot at crossing the field just to go mushroom picking. I said, wow, man. I said, unreal. We're really sad about how we've been treated, and we still are treated like that today.
Where was that at?
That's the farm going towards Terrace, just a little ways out past, yeah, past. Yeah, the creek is right there, and there's the farm right there, and there's mushrooms on the back end of the farm.
Yeah.
And they wanted to take a shortcut to go across the farm, and that's where they really got shot at.
Oh.
Like literally got shot at. So it's pretty sad. And if we do that to the Upsiwa, right away we'll be handcuffed, everything, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. One step at a time, we get there. We control our 33,000 square miles, square kilometers. Just for Roddy's information there, I don't know where Northern Native is now, but when I was sitting on board, I tried to rally for them to meet with the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans. And I talked to Melanie, and I don't know if she's going to get a hold of Northern Native. As I told them that the situation that Northern Native faces, because Gitxsan owns 33% of the organization, and Gitxsan and Niska. So I told them about our situation, and I told them that it's not right that we are still paying for the licenses that's not being used. I think that should be waived. The policy should be revisited. Mm-hmm. So she said she'll look into it. That's it for the crisis management. Any questions for Robin?
Short.
Technicality guy.
Okay, Gitxsan government structure. Gordy.
Hey,
Gordy.
having a nap here. Okay, you heard this before?
What page?
C1.
How it,
B1.
get your name.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
B1.
Kiddo.
B.
B?
Look at B1.
Are you sure it's B?
Yeah, memo from Gordy.
That's the chief negotiator. Anyway, don't read it though, just look at it. So, I did a update last night. So I want to update us again. We started this whole process back in 1975, when our chiefs were charged with fishing. So today we got the Gitxsan government. It's your process, not GTS. Your process. We had some people come into the meeting last night and said they don't want to be part of the GTS process. This is the head chiefs. And what we're looking at is 10.5 million. In 3 years, we're going to make a proposal. And I put that up there to get your attention. For 3 years. So when we started the court case in 1982, we started off with ownership and jurisdiction. Oh, that's just a bunch of lawyers' words, ownership and jurisdiction. When you really look at it, what is your jurisdiction as a Samogan? Kaskaba, what's your jurisdiction? There you go. So we went to court in 1986 when we put in this map. The hereditary chiefs separated from the Gitxsan Tribal Council, which is the Band Council. Up until 1986, it was all run by the land claims and the court cases were all run by the Band Council. In 1977, we said that the Gitxsan declared ownership of this land, and that was by the Gitxsan Carrier Tribal Council. In 1986, when we filed this map, the chiefs separated from the Band Council. They became the Gitxsan Government Commission, and they moved over to another building. And the hereditary chief stayed here. So we went to court, and we sued for ownership and jurisdiction over all this territory. And during the trial, before argument was made, the Sparrow decision came down and talked about rights and title. So our lawyers got all excited. It says, let's change from ownership and jurisdiction. We'll go to rights and title. That's what we did. We went to the Supreme Court of Canada on rights and title. We stayed there till 1997. And it's not defined. The court said, well, we got to go back for retrial to see if the chiefs have rights if you have title. And it's better to negotiate. So that's what you've been doing, is negotiating. In the big fight, right until 2017, That's a big year for the Simgiget. 2017 is a big year. We got Andra. Kaskabach said he had jurisdiction over his lahib. Well, the government don't recognize that until 2017. They will recognize that they'll start talking to him. That's about as far as they will go. So what you did is you started jurisdiction. That we always had. So we went around in a big circle from 1986 to 1997, right up to 2017. Nobody knew what rights and title is. We knew, but the government won't accept it. BC, Canada. And then in 1998, the NDP government gave Gitxsan land to the Nishka. 1999, Canada voted and gave Gitxsan land to the Nishka. And what did we do about it? Dal Simgiget. What do? We all vote NDP. Oh yeah, I'm NDP.
Not all.
So here we go. Jurisdiction. It's the will. Smoget. We got the Anat. Skogam Laha said we need to have some kind of constitution. All right? You guys live that every day. What is the will? What's the lahip? What's the anat? We live it every day, but it's really hard to describe. So the anat is a site on the river where you fish, where you camp, and the ayok no play and no waste fish. That's the ayok. How do you put all that into the Constitution? We live it. And you need permission. If Roddy wants to go to Lutkajiu's fishing site, he needs permission.
To my brother.
He's my brother. So that's where we're at today. All right? And for 2 years now, we've been going to court with, we went to the Supreme Court of up to 1997. We've been in negotiations since 1994. We never got a damn thing. We never got anywhere because the government won't move. So now we got jurisdiction. For 2.5 years, you get. Because you stepped up and you said that we have jurisdiction on the Anat. So now we got UNDRIP. UNDRIP are the sections, it's the policy. So this policy was developed by Canada, BC, and the First Nations Summit. And it was signed on September 4th. And this policy brings into effect UNDRIP. How come you have that jurisdiction there, Gaskabach? And Gaskabach will say, UNDRIP, UNDRIP. Okay? No, UNDRIP doesn't give you jurisdiction. UNDRIP says you can coexist. So sections 36 to 44 says coexist. Jurisdiction. And we never fired a shot. So the coexisting is number one, and at. That's your will. And ayo, I've been saying this now for 2.5 years. And at, and at, and at. The second jurisdiction is the province. And they give out permits and licenses. So they're coexisting. But these don't authorize trespass. All right? Ayok, no trespass. You need permission. The provincial permits, they issue the permit, but it doesn't authorize them to trespass. You pay $35 and you go wherever you want in BC to fish. So if my Wakapara $35 permit came to Lutkajiw's fishing site, I'll throw him in the river. That permit doesn't give him permission. I'll have a hell of a time dragging him down there. So number 3, the federal government, DFO. Oh, DOF I have here. They open and close. And that's based on the Tyee test fishery. They use a formula and they go up to Babine and they check out that formula. Oh yeah, it works. Monday they say, oh yeah, lots of fish. Tuesday they say, oh, not enough fish, we better close the fishery. You better use 7.5-inch mesh. And they also give up permits and license. So there's 3 jurisdictions, and they coexist because the policy which BC and Canada agreed to says we can coexist. And you see it works. Because the third party has no change. There's no change here. This guy can still get his $35 permit, but he cannot fish on the Gitxsan and that. All right? And there's no change here. There's no change here. They just can't fish on the Gitxsan and that. And the province is really big. Take a look at the province. And the Gitxsan territory. Now, the third one is the Act. Ruby Horgan is bragging about the Act. And it says that they can make a deal with an indigenous government. Indigenous governing body. So now they have authority. All these years we went to the Supreme Court of Canada, we're in negotiations, they won't agree we have rights and title. So now they're stuck with us. We got coexistence, coexisting jurisdiction on fishing. And they wouldn't recognize the hereditary chiefs. When we got money in 1994 to negotiate treaty, we had to set up the Gitxsan Treaty Society. But it's different now. They can make a deal with an indigenous governing body. And that's the will. All right? We don't have to run to the society anymore. We don't need Simgigetum Ginwangah Society. We don't need Gitxsan Treaty Society. You are the government. You're not the government every once in a while, every month when you come to the meeting here. You're the government 24 hours a day. Gitxsan. 24 hours a day, you're the government. And what this act says, they need an action plan. So the law says that they can make a deal now with the WILP, and they can set out an action plan with the WILP. With you guys. Who's going to make that deal? Who's going to develop the action plan? That's the standing committee. So the standing committee's got a job now. And decision-making agreements. So there's 3 things now that the government can legally do, which they never had before. In 1975, 1982, 1986, you could see the Gitxsan have never changed. Always the same. We fight like hell with each other and call each other down, bullshit about each other, but we never change. We're still the same. So with these 2 things here, it gives the government a tool to work with the will. And the first jurisdiction we deal with is the easy one. Coexisting our fish, our anak. That's the bunt in the ball game, when you bunt. But a lot of things can happen when you bunt. You can win the game. You can make things happen. And that's what you've done. So look at this document. I'm going to make sure I got the right one. Look at B1. I got another 2 hours to go, so don't even think about supper. Yeah. Okay, the memo says, Gitxsan hereditary chiefs are a good prima facie government with jurisdiction over Gitxsan fisheries tenure and act. And the Gitxsan government enforces the law, no trespassing, you need permission, and it's working. We only got a small window because you look at what's happening in BC. All the other tables are by band council, so they have to create a jurisdiction. All the other tables are band council, so they have to create an indigenous government. And when they create a jurisdiction, Canada and BC have to agree with that. And if they create a government, Canada and BC have to agree with it. But with the Gitxsan, we got that. A dog. The blanket. For 153 years, we've been doing this. All the time the government's been denying us. So now we got the tool. BC and Canada has the tool to deal with us side by side on the enact. And then the BC set up the act so that they can deal with us as the indigenous government. They finally caught up to us. So we're ready. So you look at the page 2, B2. So what are we doing? We don't do this once a month. We do it every day, 24 hours a day. Gitxsan hereditary chiefs are securing a position in the Constitution of Canada. There's a window of opportunity for the governments of Canada and BC to coexist. Right here, see this? Coexist. In the process to formally include Gitxsan Wilp government and the jurisdiction over the Gitxsan fisheries tenure has begun in 2017. So this will be included in the Constitution of Canada. It's all set, and there's no change, no legislation to be changed. There's no transition from the Indian Act. It's nothing to do with Band Council. So the outcome is what we're looking at is to have you as the government and you to have fiscal arrangements. So take a look at the plan when you have time tonight. Look at the plan on B2. The WILP, our governance system. Mentioned the Constitution. Well, here's an example. This is what could go into the Constitution. It's the WILP. And it talks about how it is the government. We go to B4, decision making. How the WILP makes a decision. You are the government because of the Adaw, Kula, and Totem Pole. Now at B4, financing. You see the financing, Gitxsan Wilp government? Gitxsan Wilp government is the canary in the mine with its jurisdiction over the Gitxsan fisheries tenure and act. There is no other circumstances for this in BC. You're the canary in the mine, Gitxsan. Because no other group in BC can test this policy today. No other group can test this act today. So if Premier Horgan really thinks that he's got something, then he's got to come to us. We got it, Simgiget. When you look at B5, there's different types of funding arrangement. 24 hours a day, you got to be thinking about this. You got to be reading this. Revenue sharing, block grants, equalization grants, per capita grants. There's 14,000 Gitxsan people. Categorical grants. And you look to B6. Robin already phoned the bank for a loan when he looked at this page, B6. It says supplemental 3-year budgets for the Gyeets and Gyeets for 10.3 million will include the following. Go ahead.
Did they handcuff her?
Trying to open the account.
So it says here, this is just, this is, we're still working on this, all right? And I'll show you guys later what it is we're doing. So we're still developing this. And Brian and I presented this to the chief negotiators in Vancouver a couple of weeks ago. And they just looked at us because we got the WILP and they got the Band Council. So they still have to get the government to agree that they have a government. All right? And then they still have to get the government to agree there's jurisdiction for them. So they just looked at us. The Gitxsan we're ready. So now the test is, we're the canary in the mine. Are they gonna provide $10.5 million? It could be more because we're not finishing this yet. It's still a lot of work to be done by the standing committee. So the standing committee's got lots of work. You look at each one, the government, the administration, the experts. We need to determine how to govern. How do you govern with the province? How do you govern with the federal government? How do you govern, not government? So we need to figure that out. There's no time for BS, no time for gossiping. No more time to run around at a bingo game and gossiping about another chief.
Don't make fun of the bingo game. You're trying to raise money, remember that.
They're trying to win money, that's what they're doing.
Raising money with the bingo is a thing of the past. You guys are the government now. You're not a club. You're not a club, Gyeets. You're a government. B7. An act. What is this an act that the Gitxsan are talking about? In Gitxsan territory, the secret to living a longer, happier, and more fulfilled life can be summed up in one word. An act. So read that and find out why it's written. This is stuff that we live every day. We just live it. We don't really explain it. So when you put it down on paper, it's different. And it's pretty darn exciting. What?
I like the joy of small things.
I
It's supposed to be the joy of the little things in life.
So you see how exciting it is, and you look at the pellet plant. We're looking for $6 million there. And what it is an offer to you chiefs so that we can have ownership in that 51% share. And it's a reality. If we can't raise that money, then they're going to have to put it through another route. So we need credibility. When we go on live streaming and tell everybody things are not right and accuse each other, or we go to the bingo and BS about another chief, or we go to the feast and say, oh, that chief is not telling the truth. The governments are watching. Are they going to trust us to give us $6 million? So from now on, you got to give the good word about each other. The Gitxsan are the most transparent people. You handle all your money in front of everybody at the feast. The other day, what did we deal with? $29,000. 17,000 cash. All done in the open. So we got to stop this gossiping and stuff. The biggest problem that we have, Gyeets, is consultation, the watershed process. Because we deal with proponents, and pipelines, and mining. And there's always word that, oh, that chief, he must have got big money. Look, he's got a brand new car. Here, the poor guy's got finance to the eyeballs, trying to have a car. Instead of saying, congratulations, you got a nice car, we're jealous. We're jealous, and we say, ah, geez, Sam Derrick bought a brand new car, and that's why he's late. He was outside looking at it. So that's what we do to each other. That's what they're going to say about Sam now. The big rumor down in Gitxsan is going to be that Sam there got a new car because he got big money from the government. And that's going to be the rumor in Kispiox and Hazelton. And it's not true, it's the things we say. And it's actually not funny. No, you don't have to explain, Sam.
They're starting to, I never write anything on Facebook. But all of a sudden, somebody from Burnside phoned me and said I was talking to them. And we checked it out. Whoever was talking to them had used my name and my picture on that, and they said I won I got $150,000 grant. Strictly BS. I don't know how they can do that because I don't even use a Facebook. I just got one picture on there and no comments.
Yeah. That's why you gotta watch. Trust the hereditary system. Be really careful about them Christians. You don't know what they're gonna come up with next.
Don't talk about Sam like that.
So you gotta think about the hereditary chiefs. The chiefs, you know, you guys are number one. You're number one. And we gotta stay like that. You got all this property to look after. You got the government now ready to deal with you. After 153 years. That's a long time. 153 years. You're there now. We're coming into home plate. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordy. Any questions for Gordy? Any more clarification? Calvin?
I see Gitxsan with government administration experts. Where will the longhouses fall under? If we're talking about beginning to build longhouses within the Gyeets area, and probably helping Gitxsan. We're talking about working with Sengwach and the Ganeda of Gitxsan, and then work together to build these long houses and have some of the family members live right out to protect the long house once we build it. And I know volunteering is good, but where do we find funding for these events? No further questions.
This year is, I'm just talking about government now. I'm just talking about you guys. All right? You keep your eye on the ball. Let's get this done. And if you're going to do anything else, like Skyanne, she does it on her own. She's out there, that family all working there. But this table here, you keep your eye on the ball. We're going to fund the government. We're looking at having a building, an administration building. All right, so for now, we're just bunt. We're just making a bunt. Because if we start looking for long houses on this table, we're going to get sidetracked. Because we got, how many Sim can get? 44, 48 long houses? That's too much for us to deal with here. Go ahead.
Calvin just was asking government operations experts, what is that by the way it says?
The experts is to how to govern with the province and with the federal government.
I see, okay.
Yeah, we're going to need some experts. We have them. Like Ray has worked all his life with federal and provincial government. We have a lot of our own experts. So nobody can BS us. If we hire somebody from the United States of America, we'll know how to deal with them.
As a member of the Standing Committee on Jurisdiction, I just wanted to throw an idea out there. If we could approach DFO FLNROR. Every year they have a little booklet called Freshwater Fishing Synopsis. I wonder if we could approach them to amend that fishing synopsis to include the wishes of the Gitxsan OL, that there would be no trespassing on any of our net on the Skeena River. That would be a start, and then because when the Gumshaw get their fishing permit, that's what they follow. Those are the rules they follow, that fishing synopsis. So there's certain closures at bridges, streams that enter the Skeena, they're not allowed to fish there. So if that's written in that synopsis, that would be one way to guarantee that there is no trespassing on a net.
That's right. So if you look at that synopsis now, it says on there, don't cross reserved land. That's all it says. And that if you have a confrontation on the river, call the RCMP. So we dealt with them. Robin and Vernon, Norman, Brian on the crisis team told them to change that. And that when they refer to the RCMP, they're setting up trouble. Because the white man is going to say, I'm allowed to fish here, and start fighting. When he gets punched in the nose, he's going to run to the police. So we told him that when you take that line out of there, and also you take that reference to the reserves out of there, and they said, yep, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. But at the last meeting, they didn't make no amendment, it's still the same. So it goes to trust. When the government people tell us something and nothing happens, then it goes to trust. We got Doug Donaldson to appoint these guys. When they come to our table, they got to tell the truth, or else we're not going to believe Doug Donaldson anymore.
Well, basically we should just keep asking them to make that amendment to their fishing synopsis until they do it.
Yeah, that's what the crisis team is doing. They're keeping it on them. But here it is. The answer is yeah. It's not up to the synopsis. It's up to you. Taskaba, you watch your fishing site. If there's any trespassers there, they leave. They're respectful. They leave. Some of them grumble, but they leave. Good. Thank you.
Good. Any more questions for Gordy? Okay, next on the agenda is letter support for language
Project.
Language project. All she wants is a letter of support. Maybe you could speak on that.
Yeah, so since 2015, I've been running Gitxsan Language and Culture Camp. And my goal was immersion, but it's really a huge challenge. So we do the language as much as possible. So every year almost every year, I've been successful with funding from First Peoples, which is only $25,000, and I employ about 7 staff, and then a lot of that chunk goes to elders in residence and language experts and cultural experts that come in and do workshops like net mending, cedar weaving, and that sort of thing, beading, whatever I can get. And so we ran it for 12 days last year, so it's about 2 weeks. And a lot of it goes to food and expenses, a little bit to travel and equipment, boat rental, that sort of thing. So every year I've kind of had a challenge getting letters of support. I usually get it from the band, but I've always had problems. I haven't been able to get one from Gitxsan ever. It's just never possible. I don't know why, but they just don't. I usually have the letter already, and I just need a signature, a sign off. So I was thinking, so I've argued with First Peoples in my comments and on the phone that why is it you always recognize the band with they say get a BCR or a letter from the band, and I'm like, the band doesn't own the language, we do as hereditary chiefs. It's the hereditary chiefs that should have more power to sign off a letter. So I was thinking I could get a letter from this table, and that would show a lot of strength in support of helping to revitalize our language and culture. So it's a really good program. I've had really successful participation for the last 5 years, an average of 22, 23 people, ranging from 0 to, I say 0 to 100 on my proposal ages, but I've had 81 and 82-year-old there every year, and little guys. So it's really neat because it's like a family oriented where we all live together. Another point that I just thought of is I'm looking for anyone who's interested as a speaker to come and just live there. It's a really nice place to live, and just to unplug from Facebook and that sort of thing. So it's, anybody's interested, you're welcome to come. I'm looking for speakers and elders. We just lost a huge participant. Shirley Gray was there for the last 5 years, and her and Lawson. They really were hands-on. They didn't just sit around and watch us do work. They did everything with us. Yeah, so looking for more people. So either a motion today, and we could write it out and include it in the letter, and then maybe just get the chair to sign it on our behalf, and yeah.
What's the proper name?
The proper name of it is Gitxsan Language and Culture Camp. That's the proper name, and I don't close the door to anybody. If anybody wants to attend Gitxsan, Nisqa, we're all similar. I've had different people there. Whoever's interested in learning the language, and they do pick it up really quickly. And I didn't want to just keep it to just Gyeets, even though that's our focus. But I've had a few people from the Gigénik attend as well, because they want to learn how to work on fish. Mainly fish is the activity.
The reason why I ask is there's a similar activity through Leonard Gowa's house, working with lots of healing centers just outside, going on to Gitxsan. They're just off the turn off. They're doing the same thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've heard of other camps from before.
So maybe you should put at the end put the location. You will propose.
Yeah, I always put that in the proposal. I call it. It's really kind of like. GTS administers it because the funders always want to see a general ledger at the end when I do my final reporting with the funding. So I don't have access to a finance person. It's just too expensive. So I run it through GTS, but the Lachskik are the ones that run the camp. So GTS administers the funding part. And then I call it the Gitxsan Language Camp, TLC. So it's got a subtitle to it, because that's where it takes place every year right along the river. It's been pretty successful. A lot of work, but
I'll make that motion to support your proposal to seek funding for the camp, language camp.
Any more questions for Anita?
I'll second it.
Or Ray made a motion and then Crystal seconded.
so we're called the Gitxsan government. I guess we could just, this is the Gitxsan government Gyeets. I guess I'll add that, and unless I request one from the other government people.
Gyeets government.
Just Gyeets. So move for Gitxsan government Gyeets to support the Gitxsan language camp. 2020. Okay, thank you very much. What ska jag missa?
Is that part of that training program you're talking about? That I seen one down the Salvation Army last summer that it's learning the Gitxsan language.
Nej, nedin silrawilla gidna som lapwat sarat ne nagu 2010 nama un lap sarat si invited lap ligidna nedin silrawilla organization ut lap in lap ne and khaat madel bligo white non west Nedin like tip proposal like something give back every year. It if Nedi get nam dit ligi go. Yeah.
I'm just curious how big it is, because we got some company, some people doing it, and I don't know how they do it or what they're affiliated with.
Huh. Nam hooks for na.
I don't know how many Indian might teach my kids.
I'm looking for speakers. Yeah. Oh, I just we down good luck go when with the heat look so next. I really enjoy listening to our language all day when sitting around having coffee.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passed by consensus. Abstention, Roddy, yeah? Nay. Okay. Wujot support, Vernon, I guess we've covered that. Unless he's got something else.
Oh, I think you did with it already.
Okay. Next government session meeting, Gyeets governance.
Before you go, Bernd, there's something that was troubling me, but I didn't get to put it on the paper. There's one family in Gitxsan that's got 5 moose of our territory, and we don't see even a pound of it. So the dogs are running around having good moose foam, and we're not getting any of it. I think we have to start going into the permit system where maybe 1 permit per family.
I agree.
And you know, it's the band council people that is doing it. It's not simply gets kids or it's all at the band level. So I wanted to bring that up earlier and I forgot about it. Thank you. We'll put that on the agenda next meeting, eh? Next meeting was what date?
We're looking at February 17th at 4 p.m.
That's PC Day, it's a stat holiday. Family Day. Yeah, Family Day.
Is it a stat?
Family
It's a
Day,
stat.
President's Day, it says on it.
We're forced to spend time with our family, no Facebook.
Just text each other.
Yeah, it's a stat holiday, everything's gonna be closed, so.
When's the next available?
So what would be the alternative?
The 12th?
12th?
Just before Valentine's.
Yeah.
That's all native, that's all native week, I don't know if people watch
all
Black
native.
Basketball.
All native
All
for a week.
week.
Because the 20th will be GPS board meeting here. Unless you want to go to next week, 24th, 25th?
25th.
25th?
Next week?
Yep.
It's Saturday.
February.
February.
24th sounds good.
Oh, 24th February? Okay.
Oh,
24th of February?
Work for me.
25th.
Not on the 14th.
I got a new worksheet.
can we have the
Working
meeting
on
in
some
Prince
more.
Rupert during all native?
Hey,
Good idea.
that's the
Wow,
one.
that'd be good.
Oh,
There'll be no room.
Did we have any money yet so we can get
I just saw your big budget here.
14 and 7 days.
I'm going to the bank.
Yeah.
with my paper?
Robin's going to the bank again.
Evidence.
A lot of
Get
teams will be knocked out by Thursday.
Oh, sorry.
A lot of teams will be knocked out by Thursday. We
Oh.
could get
I heard the Gitxsans have every team in every division this year.
Because there was no,
Haida or Hyder.
no, they didn't have where you need to win
Oh,
to
tryout.
Qualification round.
qualifications this year. Everybody was invited.
Oh, yeah.
So is that a
Sorry, when's the
Did we
meeting?
set the date?
24th, 4 o'clock?
24th.
February 24th.
4 o'clock?
Oh, it's leap year this year too. I was gonna joke and say February 29th, but there is the 29th.
Yeah.
You're gonna make an announcement?
Unless
29th.
29.
leap year.
She's gonna make an announcement on 29th.
Oh.
Yeah. Leap year.
Leap year.
Yeah. Look, good juice.
You made me miss what was that? Governance.
Okay, the next meeting is on the 24th of February, 4 p.m.
Yes. I